An all-play whole group game that includes students who love to compete, students who love to be active, and students who love to use their brains. That's the game we're going to talk about in today's episode. So last week, our youth director asked me kind of last minute if I could come up with a game, and I was scrambling to come up with something. I had an idea, and I called it Relay Scramble. So here's how the concept of this game works. And it was super fun. I came up with 3 words, phrases, and I printed 2 copies of them. And for each set, I printed a letter per page. So let's say the word was search. I would print SEARCH. So I'd have 6 pages, and I'd do 2 sets of those. And I broke the group into 2 teams, and on go, like I would hand out pieces of paper upside down one at a time. And I would on go, they would run down to the end. Now, because we did it outside and it was a little windy, I also had everybody have a rock, which I learned quickly we needed to do. So everybody had a rock, and they would put down their paper on the ground with the rock on top of it. The next person had to run up, put their paper right next to it, to the right of the previous paper. Go back again. It's tag, relay, next person goes up. And they had to lay them until all the pieces of paper were laid down next to each other. Then the next person in line would go up, and they could move 1 letter, 1 space. They could slide others over, but they couldn't kind of switch them around. They could only move 1 letter. And so they're unscrambling slowly. Then the next person would run up, and the next person would run up. Very simple concept. But when you're competing against another team and you're only seeing it that moment, you're looking at all the letters and you're going, okay, I can move this 1 letter over here. You're trying to be quick. It makes it way more difficult than if you're just trying to do a word scramble on your own or whatever by yourself. When you're competing, everything changes. And when it includes running and looking at it for just a moment and then running back, that makes it even more difficult. So it was really funny to watch them. Now, the first word I did was gelato. I don't know why I thought of gelato. Again, I was working last minute. That's the word they came up with. Then I did Red Sox. And then I did graduation because we're heading into graduation season. So I did all of those. I did those 3 words. I printed out 2 sets of each of those. Now, one of the things I learned, because typically I like to practice games ahead of time. So I know that they work and how best to explain it. And if there's some issues that come up, like the rock, which I figured out when it was a little windy, I kind of figured out right away. But then these are the things you need to include in the rules so everybody understands and nobody goes, oh, they cheated because they did. Relax, right? So if I were to do it again, what I would do is I would have a leader handing out the papers to each team. You don't want to give them ahead of time because then they can look at the letters and they can compare and all that stuff. And you just don't want to take a chance anybody cheats. Put it face down, have them run down, put it face up on the rock. Or if it's not windy, they just put it down on the ground. Then they start scrambling. Once a team gets it, it's kind of like if you ever watch Survivor, when they think they've got it, they said, we got it. And then you, as the game leader, goes over to check to make sure that they've got it, declare the winner. Super fun. I want to show you a couple examples of what was happening here. You can see what's going on in these videos.
Oh my gosh, I know what it is! We're good. We're good.
Land of Jesus.
They won! What's the word?
Graduation.
Graduation, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Team Lily is the winner. So you can see there's a lot of chaos when it comes to these games. I love these type of games because they're active, everybody gets involved, and even if like you've got those students who are like, I don't want to do it, all of a sudden they come alive when like every single one of our students, it was like they were in. Our quiet students, the ones who don't say a word, they were in, they were hustling, it was really, really fun. And it was funny. I got mocked because they're like, what is that? Can you do English words? I'm like, gelato. It's a delicious ice cream. It's so creamy. So that we had fun playing back and forth. Then, of course, my love for the Red Sox. Our youth director is a Dodger fan, so I specifically did that for him. As you saw in the video there, he got really mad that it was that. And he's like, that's not a real word. That's a terrible word, whatever. It was really funny. So you can have fun with it. Maybe there's words or phrases that your group like have, it's been kind of running jokes. Now, be careful. I always say be careful not to have insider jokes, because those students that show up for the first time, they play a game and you use an insider joke word that doesn't make sense, like spring. Like maybe that's some word that I just made that word up, but you made some word up that becomes an insider joke. All of a sudden, those students who are there for the first time feel left out. But that's the game for today. If you've got a game, I would love for you to share that in the comments and let me know. I'm always looking for new games. It's probably why you're here checking out this video to learn a new game. You'll see I talk about all sorts of stuff that's practical youth ministry tips. That's what I do. That's what I'm about. That's what I want to do on this channel. I want to help you with practical youth ministry tips. So a lot of times we're going to talk about games. Sometimes we'll talk about volunteers. Sometimes we'll talk about strategy. Sometimes we'll talk about parents. Sometimes we'll talk about what do you do when you're, I don't know, you're at a loss for what's coming up, curriculum, all that kind of stuff. I love very practical tips. And so that's why each of these episodes, every video that I do, you will see that there's something you can take away. Typically, you can do it that day because it's that practical. So that's the podcast. That's the episode for today. If you know someone that is struggling with games, maybe they're not great at games, and you're like, or they just need an idea, would you click the share button and text that to them? Let them know, hey, I got a great game idea. Check this out, and pass it on to someone else. I'd greatly appreciate it. Click the subscribe button, notification button, so you know when new episodes come out. They come out every Tuesday at 12 PST, Pacific Standard Time. Would love to have you subscribe and join the community and never miss out on any one of the videos. All right, until next week, we'll catch you later. See ya.